What's going on, my friends? Happy Flex Friday to you. Yes, it's Friday, which means PrizePicks is running another Flex Friday promotion, but today there's a Flex Friday twist, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. My name's CJ. If this is your first time to the channel, guys, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell so you're notified each time I post a new piece of content, and do me a favor and hit that like button for me. Let's try to go for at least 100 likes on today's video. Now, we're all about playing 6-pick flex entries here on PrizePicks, and today's a great day to do so because, as I mentioned, it's Flex Friday, meaning your first flex entry made after 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which is now or later till midnight, is completely risk-free. In other words, if you go 0 for 6, and you lose all your money, you don't actually lose. The very next day, they're gonna refund you $20, but they're adding a special little bonus promotion on today's Flex Friday. Here's what it is. Flex Friday, $20 protected play. Get your first flex entry back if it loses. Plus, in addition, you'll get a free entry for a flex that goes 0 for 6. So this is to celebrate National Donut Day, I think PrizePicks said. So if you go 0 for 6 on your entry, not only will you get your $20 protected play back, but they'll also send you a risk-free flex entry. All right, so you get a chance to not only get your 20 bucks back, but you get a chance at an entry to win even more money the very next day. So pretty cool thing that they're doing here on PrizePicks today. But here's what I'll say. I do not intend to go 0 for 6 on the picks that I have lined up for you today. So let's talk about them. We're sticking to all pitcher fantasy score plays because with strikeouts, you could potentially tie or push on a lot of those strikeouts that have been bumped up or bumped down. With some of the other stats out there, they could be a little volatile when you're talking about hitting player projections. So I'm going to stick to the pitchers. I'm going to go fantasy score because it's really difficult for a pitcher to tie on a fantasy score. In fact, I think it's impossible based on the way that all these pitcher fantasy score props are set. So let's go ahead and go through them real quick. Corbin Burns, our thumbnail player of the day. He's at 36.5 pitcher fantasy score. Now, what is pitcher fantasy score? It's a combination of different things. It could be player outs, strikeouts, earned runs allowed, and then you get credit for things like a quality start, which is worth 4 points, a win, which is worth 6 points. So different things that are in conjunction basically make up what pitcher fantasy score is. So definitely make sure that you get familiar with the rules and all that. PrizePicks has it in their app and on their website. But we're going to be taking a look at some player projection sites for some of these pitcher fantasy scores. So let's use the first one. My favorite player projection tool for MLB, which is The Bat by Derek Carty. Now, it's important, it's critical that if you're using player projection models for fantasy score on MLB pitchers, that you're using FanDuel projections. FanDuel scoring, PrizePicks scoring, exactly the same when it comes to pitcher fantasy score. So the first projection we have here for Corbin Burns is 29.5. You can find The Bat out on rotogrinders.com if you're interested in taking this for a spin. But this first projection leads us to believe that we should be taking the under on Corbin Burns here. So we're going to go to a second projection. This one's going to be provided to us by RotoWire. RotoWire, again, you have to pay for that. Check out rotowire.com if you're interested in taking that for a test drive. The line on Corbin Burns is 36.5 fantasy score. His projection on RotoWire is just 34. So that's 2 unders thus far. Let's go to a third projection. We're going to be looking at Fantasy Labs, again, using FanDuel projections. They got Corbin Burns projected for 34.8 fantasy score, which again is less than 36.5. And a freebie, a site that you should definitely check out if you haven't yet, is NumberFire. Let's go see what NumberFire has Corbin Burns projected for today. Just 29.9 fantasy score. So there's 4 different projection models, all having Corbin Burns for less than 36.5 fantasy score. So he's our first pick. Moving on to our second pick, Zach Wheeler, Phillies. Let's go see what he's looking like today at 36.5 fantasy score. It's going to be rinse and repeat. I'm going to show you the projections on various models, and you guys can decide which ones you want to take, which ones you don't want to take. The first projection on Zach Wheeler, 31.6 fantasy score, taking on the Washington Nationals today. So that's going to be an under for Wheeler. Let's check out a second projection for Wheeler here. Wheeler's projected for 32.8, let's call it, on the line of 36.5. So that's going to be less than 36.5. We're going back to Fantasy Labs. Zach Wheeler is at 34.85 on Fantasy Labs. So that's 3 different projection models that all have Zach Wheeler going under. And then our third and final projection for Wheeler is going to be our fourth and final projection is going to be 37.8, which puts Zach Wheeler slightly over 36.5 on just one model. So 3 out of the 4 models have Wheeler going under. I'm going to ride with the 3 out of the 4, especially since the bat by Derek Carty has Zach Wheeler going under 36.5. All right, moving on to our third pick. It's going to be Jon Gray of the Texas Rangers taking on the Seattle Mariners. He's at 33.5 pitcher fantasy score. So here we go. We're going back to the bat. We're going to take a look at Jon Gray's projections over there. He is projected for 27.6 fantasy score, so that's definitely a pretty sizable under. Let's check a second projection for Jon Gray. 27.7 on a line of 33.5. Here we go again. 2 for 2 on the under so far for Jon Gray. Let's check a third projection for Jon Gray. 31.5. So again, another under. And last, we're going to go back to number fire. Fourth projection for Jon Gray. They got him down at 29.1. So again, 4 different projection models all have Jon Gray going for less than 33.5 fantasy score. So our first 3 picks, all underplays. Now, if you like what I'm doing here, let me know. Let the YouTube algorithm overlords know that you like what I'm doing by hitting that like button. And again, if you're not subscribed yet, I encourage you, I implore you to do so. Appreciate all the support as usual. All right, moving on to our final 3 picks. Shohei Otani, 40.5 fantasy score. He's taking on the Houston Astros. We know the Houston Astros can be kind of a thorn in the side, kind of be a tough team. And he's got Framber Valdez going up against him in a head-to-head pitcher matchup here. So Framber, not a bad pitcher in his own right. So let's take a look at Shohei Otani here at 40.5 fantasy score. We're going to, again, run this guy through the paces here. We're going to run him through 4 different projection models. First projection's got him all the way down at 33.1 fantasy score. I would say that is a sizable under projection for Shohei Otani. Second projection at 40.5, he's projected for 37.1. So again, you're getting about a 3.5 fantasy score difference there. That's a pretty nice size edge. Let's go check another projection for Otani. 37.1, definitely below 40.5. And then we'll wrap it up here with Number Fire, who's got Otani all the way down at 36.8. So I'm not going to try to rub my fake crystal ball and predict what's going to happen. No, these projection models are a lot smarter than I am. They account for a lot more things statistically than I could ever account for. Things like the weather, things like the umpire for the day, things like the lineup that they'll be facing and all that. It's all baked into these projections. So I'm just going to ride with the projections here. I don't claim to be smarter than these geniuses behind these projection models. So I'm going to take the under again here on Shohei Otani, which brings us to our next guy, Merrill Kelly of the Arizona Diamondbacks, 30.5 fantasy score. He's taking on the Atlanta Braves. Now the Braves bats have been kind of, iffy lately. Sorry, Braves fans, but it's true. They've been kind of hit or miss. Hopefully tonight they're hitting more than missing. All right, Merrill Kelly here. We're going to go and take a look at his different projections as well. First projection on Kelly all the way down at 25.7 fantasy score on a line of 30.5. Obviously, I don't have to tell you, that is a pretty massive under. The second projection for Merrill Kelly, 28.7, let's call it, still quite a bit less than 30.5 fantasy score. We're heading back to Fantasy Labs. We're going to punch in Merrill Kelly's name there. 30.84, that's the closest projection we've seen so far. That's a pretty tight projection on a line of 30.5. Let's see what this fourth projection's looking like, though. Maybe that'll help us decide what we should be doing here with Merrill Kelly. Back to Number Fire we go. They've got him at 28.9. We could call it 29. No matter what, though, that's going to be an under. So 3 out of 4 sites all have Merrill Kelly going under 30.5 fantasy score. The one site that had him going over barely had him going over. It was 30.8, right? Versus a line of 30.5. Which brings us to our final play, Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's taking on the New York Yankees today, and his line is 35.5 pitcher fantasy score. So again, let's run it through the different player projection models and see what they have to say about Kershaw. The first one, 30.2. Obviously, that's less than 35.5. Taking a look at the second one here, Clayton Kershaw, 35.2. A little bit tighter, a little bit sharper on Clayton Kershaw. The next one we're going to take a look at, Fantasy Labs. Kershaw's at 35.4. Again, pretty tight lines here on Clayton Kershaw. I'm not going to front. It's looking kind of sharp here on Clayton Kershaw. Let's check out this next one and last one, which is gonna be again number 5. They got him at 36.4. So most of the projection models are pretty close to 35.5. 3 out of 4 were slightly under. So I'll go ahead and take the under on Kershaw here. He would probably be I don't know, probably my least favorite of the 6. Merrill Kelly, he should be okay. Maybe Zach Wheeler, he was projected to go over on one model, but those are the 6 that I'll be running with today. Like I said, this is a protected play. It's my first flex entry made after 10:30. And if I go 0 for 6, well, not only will I get my 20 bucks back, I'll get a free entry the very next day. Like I said, I don't plan on this going 0 for 6. Hopefully we go at least 5 for 6 and profit here, but take the ones that you like. Feel no pressure to take them all. If there's only 1 or 2 that really stand out to you, grab those. And maybe you combine them with your own picks. We got a lot of WNBA that's coming up. So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of combine these and remix these however you feel fit. But anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. We'll be posting more Prize Picks content daily. Y'all have a good one and good luck today. Lock it in. Peace.